first reactions, filmmaking techniques, and Christian forgot to interrupt me for this intro because this is actually the Book of Boba Fett. I'm going to restart it.
Is it though?
Is it? Or is this Clone Wars Season 8?
Okay. Beyond just our cynicism for Star Wars, we are in an existential, not crisis, but existential pondering
I don't...
of, is this actually Boba takeover? Because it feels like the Boba takeover
But it's
has
also
been
not...
taken over by something else.
But it's also not the Mandalorian.
Yes.
It's like Clone Wars Season 8.
You know what it is? Okay.
What is it?
I've seen a joke on Twitter that was like, you know what? They should just have one big show and call it Star Wars.
This is
Which
it.
is kind of what
Yeah.
what they've been doing since
Yeah.
Mandalorian season 1. They've always just had this intro sequence that has a bunch of helmets and droid faces, and it just says Star Wars and it has
Yeah.
a theme.
Let's be
We've
honest.
been
That's
in
kind
a
of what
Star
Clone
Wars
Wars
show the
was.
whole time.
That's kind of what Clone Wars was.
Well, yeah, sort of, but like that was still dedicated to a time and well, this is dedicated to a time and place.
Yeah, that was more dedicated though toward the Jedi for the most part. So,
But that was like locked in. That wasn't like, you know, well, they did bring back Bosk. Okay, there were some original trilogy connections.
yeah,
But with the Mandoverse,
Chewbacca was in there.
like here's prequel, here's sequel, here's original trilogy. It's
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're here
It was a cold
today.
open.
Yeah, it was a cold open, but we're here today to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 6, The Roll Call. It's actually not called The Roll Call, but I thought it'd be funny because that's basically what this whole episode is. This whole episode, this whole episode is Luke, are you here? Yeah, I'm here. Grogu, you here? Yeah, I'm here. Cad Bane, are you? Yeah, I'm here. A lot of that. So it's actually called From the Desert Comes a Stranger, but for the sake of this podcast, it would be called The Roll Call. Because that's the I literally thought about that while watching the episode. I was like, oh, they should have just called it that. That's what that's what this episode is. All right. Well, anyway, I guess we didn't even do like our Star Wars stuff for the week. Christian, did you have any fun Star Wars things this week?
I thought I had something that was not like internet related, but I don't think I do. In terms of internet thing, I've been wanting to mention this for like a month. I just haven't thought of it. I've started following this account on Twitter called Every Star Wars Shot in Order. They started about a month ago with Phantom Menace, and it's a bot that just posts every frame in chronological order from Star Wars
That's
movies.
really weird.
And it's like, it's fun because, and I also follow a Spider-Verse account that's like this, and it's just like, it's a way to just like break up any sort of news or just blob of words. It's what they call a timeline cleanser. You get to just break it up with, oh, here's this beautiful shot from this movie. And so I've had a steady stream of Phantom Menace for like at least 3 or 4 weeks, and now we're on Attack the Clones, and we're at the scene where Jango Fett is talking to Obi-Wan. So I've liked like 6 different frames of just Jango Fett looking like this.
Nice.
So that's my enjoyment of Star Wars right now.
Dude, I've had this really weird like thing happening to me the past few weeks where I've gotten so like with everything we're saying bad about the show, one thing that is great is Tamura Morrison is making me forget that he played Jango Fett. I keep forgetting that he played Jango Fett because I am so engrossed now that I'm so convinced now that he is Boba Fett. Right? Like that's one thing that this show is doing great is they are convincing me that Tamura Morrison was never Jango Fett. And like I keep seeing shots from the original trilogy and I'm like, man, they really got a good actor. I was like, wait, that's the same guy. Like I keep forgetting that, and it's so weird. But I mean, I guess that's one thing that the show's doing great is it's making me forget that they got the same guy because he's a clone.
I mean, I know this would have upset the more traditional classical fans, but what if this show was just a Jango Fett show?
That'd be cool.
Like just go back in time.
Yeah.
Can I share my screen? Do you allow me to share my screen?
You do have permission. I do it before now.
Wait, hold on.
again, YouTube viewers will be able to see what's on the screen. So if you're into that kind of thing, go check us out, Last Star Wars Podcast on YouTube. Shameless
Having
plug.
difficulties. I thought I was.
All right. Well, I will talk about my thing real quick while you're doing that. This week, I can't remember. I know I mentioned that I bought this at some point, but I don't know if I ever mentioned that it came in. But my Ahsoka Brickhead finally came in. Again, if you're on YouTube, you can see it. It's pretty awesome.
Season 7, right?
Yeah, it's the season 7 Clone Wars jumpsuit version, which is very cool. And yeah, I had a really good time. Like her Leku are like have this amazing like detail on them, and yeah, it's just very cool for a brickhead that cost me $6. Well worth it, and she will go right there on top of my coffee maker for now for the rest of the podcast, so we can always view her. You go, and it's perfect because for this episode. So yeah, I guess it's perfect. Anyway, you can share your screen now.
Screen, please.
Yeah, you can go now. All right.
Okay, you see what this is?
Yes, this is a scene from Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, so this is a shot that I got from the account.
I'm impressed that I knew that fast.
Yeah, every Star Wars shot in order. So essentially, for the audio only listeners, this is Padme fearing for Anakin because he just got trampled by a giant Naboo big thing in that one scene. So this is me reacting to chapter 1. Chapter 1 of Book of Boba Fett, and then chapter 2. Less so chapter 2, but still chapter 2. And chapter 3. And then chapter 4. And then chapter 5. Oh my gosh.
It's not working. You had this great bit set up. Oh, okay. There's chapter 5.
And then chapter 6.
And then chapter 6.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Chapter 5 is the smile she has before she fears for Anakin's life. Anyway. Yeah,
I like that. That's good.
That's a lot simpler than as complicated as that was. It's more simple than using Disney Plus on Zoom.
Yeah. So I guess that's everything. Would you like to hop into the episode? I guess the first thing to talk about is how did you watch this episode? Was it any different than usual?
It was because I was busy all day and I still had time to watch it. Like I've had days where I've gone to bed pretty late, but like still not like with like I still didn't have that sort of day where I was like doing stuff that as hard as I was yesterday, basically. Like I just had a lot of work yesterday, but I still had time to watch it at like 11:30. And I was really tired, but I still wanted to make time because I wanted to be able to think about it throughout the day rather than watch it right before recording.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary. There was, yeah. I watched it. I went to bed. I read a book, but occasionally my mind would drift into like my thoughts.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, for me, it was really weird. This was a weird viewing for me because I woke up. So my first class on Wednesdays is at like 9:55, right? But this week my class got canceled because we just had like a take-home test to do, right? So my class got canceled. I didn't have class until 12:30. So I woke up at 9 and I laid in my bed and watched the episode. The first thing I did that a Wednesday morning. So I woke up, got on my phone, and I watched the Book of Boba Fett on my phone at 9 o'clock in the morning without getting out of bed. So I started my day off with the Mandalorian / Book of Boba Fett / the Clone Wars season 8. But and I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. But I think I'm ready to finally talk about it because I think I can finally, after thinking about it for a day and a half, almost 2 days, I think I can finally I have at least some sort of something in my head. Whether I can put that into words or not is going to be that's going to be the fun part. So
Another
before
title, another title could be the George Lucas Intellectual Property Variety Hour, which is really going to come true if they put in characters from like THX 1138 and American Graffiti.
yeah,
Um, but
Thanos will
it
show
still
up
stands
next.
because most of the IP he's made is Star Wars.
It's going to pan to Thanos.
The gloved gauntlet of Boba Fett.
Yeah. Well, let's start off with I guess we're just gonna start off with a synopsis real quick. So the first thing we get is the Pikes. They're trying to smuggle some spice until they're stopped by the marshal, Mr. Timothy Oliphant himself, Cobb Vanth. Threatens them, shoots all but one of them, and then takes what he thinks is spice, but from what I can gather, it's just a thing of sand. Was it just a box of sand?
It was, I think it was spice.
Oh, I thought it was just a box of sand.
The weird thing was that, like, instinctively, I was like, wait, does that look like the spice from Dune?
I
When,
still
like,
haven't seen, dude.
I was like, wait, no, that's a different franchise.
Yeah. The my favorite thing about this scene was the ice cream maker.
Yeah, the Camtono.
Yeah, came back. So anyway, he lets him go, and when we get Mando going to this planet, meets R2D2 again. And as soon as I saw, normally when I see R2D2 on screen, I get really happy because I love my little R2D2 boy. Because normally that means that my favorite droid boy is very close. But in this case, it means that we have to see Luke again. And so I got kind of sad. Anyway, Mando's here to see Mr. Grogu, and he finds what's going to be the first temple, I guess, or the first new Jedi temple or whatever that Luke is building. And he just kind of waits there until Ahsoka finds him. But we get a nice little meditation scene between Luke, who actually is played by Mark Hamill, according to IMDb. They just like replaced his face in post, I guess. Because it says
Hire that one guy off the internet.
hired that one guy off the internet. Oh, from the YouTube video. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that might actually be a real story. I need to look that up.
Maybe. But we see Grogu using the Force. It's very cute. Blah blah blah. And we get a cool little. I guess it's a cool little scene between Luke and Grogu, and he drops the whole "do not try, do," trying to quote Yoda. And he starts talking about Yoda, and then he makes Grogu remember Order 66. He uses the Force to have Grogu remember Order 66. And cool cameo, we get what we think is General Appo's troops. If you don't know, Dave Filoni put a little Avatar Last Airbender Easter egg in the Clone Wars, had one of his commanders have an arrow down his head and called him Commander Appo. And these clones in this flashback have the arrow on their head. So that's kind of cool. We then get Mando meeting Ahsoka, and she's kind of talking about how no attachments, you can't go see him, and so the whole reason that Mando is here is to see Grogu, and then he doesn't get to see him, but he gives the chain. He gives Ahsoka the chainmail from the last episode. We then get a training montage of Grogu being Luke's backpack while he runs, in a very obvious callback, and then he makes him kind of train with a thing. And I literally said out loud, if that thing shoots Grogu, I'm throwing hands. I was like, if you shoot Grogu with that ball, I'm gonna kill you. And then it shot him. So I got kind of upset. But Grogu apparently can jump really high at the end of this training montage. And Ahsoka says a cool little "you're a lot like your father" kind of thing, which she knows Anakin.
Save the comments.
What?
Save the comments. You're getting snarky again.
I know. I'm sorry. I keep going. Boba Fett's in the movie in the show for about 30 seconds while they plan everything until we get the Mandalorian going to recruit Cobb Vanth. which eventually Cobb Vanth agrees to until Cad Bane shows up in Muspelgo, or also known as Freetown now. They get my favorite. This is both my favorite and my least favorite scene in the entire movie, because we get a really cool standoff, I think. In which case, Cad Bane shoots both the marshal and the deputy, and walks off. And then the Pikes blow up the club.
Resurrected Max Rebo.
Yeah, they killed Max Rebo. Oh, and I forgot. Luke, in pure Luke fashion, makes Grogu decide between a piece of chainmail and a lightsaber, saying that if he chooses the chainmail, he will no longer train him. But he also gives him Yoda's lightsaber because Luke kept that, apparently. So yeah, that's the synopsis.
That's like a thing of like the lightsaber Yoda had was only in the prequels,
Yeah, no, it was never in the OT.
but yeah. But that's the thing. I can imagine that he kept it. I don't need to see
Yeah,
the
yeah,
bridging of the timeline of Yoda, CGI Yoda, who had the lightsaber, to puppet Yoda.
yeah.
I can
No,
just
I can.
infer
It
that he
makes
still had
sense
it.
because when he leaves Kashyyyk, he still has it, and I assume he went straight from Kashyyyk to Dagobah, or somehow
Yeah.
some close. So it makes sense. I don't need, I agree with you. So I guess we start at the beginning, right? We get I mean, anything to say about Cobb Vanth shooting a bunch of pikes?
Dialogue in that scene was unbearable. It was so clunky. I was like I was at war with myself because I was like, Oliphant has so much charisma and I'm so glad to see him again. And I don't have anything against him. I don't have any ill will, but at the same time he looks like he's not even trying.
Mm-hmm.
Um
I guess I
it's
should also ask you, what were your general first reactions to the episode? Because we didn't do that either. What were your general reactions as a whole?
um I mean, I really didn't like it. I don't like the lack of focus. I was fine with the interlude of Mandalorian coming in chapter 5, but I think this is too much.
Mm-hmm.
Add on top of that, um, the way they handle Ahsoka and Luke, um, I think is even worse than how they handle them in season 2 of Mandalorian. And that's the thing. I like. It seems like I'm already analyzing that, but like this is literally like my gut reaction.
Yeah.
Like in the same way that like you watch something for the first time and you feel surprised. Like I've thought about this so much that like as soon as it happens, I know what I think.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just really don't like that, and I do have faith, not faith, but like I see that they're kind of doing a thing where like you're not supposed to like Luke, but I think they're also really trying to honor Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Either way, it's just boring.
Yeah. I think for me, I really wanted to like this episode, and there are parts of it that I do like. Um, when it comes to Ahsoka, the first thing that I was like, this is not Ahsoka. Like this isn't how Ahsoka would act. Like she left the Jedi Order because she didn't agree with a lot of their teachings, and one of the biggest things that she didn't agree with is their idea of no attachments. Like she was like, why not? Why can't we have attachments? And now she's the one preaching no attachments, and that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Um, I mean, I don't know, like season 7, I guess she kind of like put herself out, but then like coming back, I don't know. It just didn't feel like Ahsoka. Luke, I think it makes sense. We've always known that Luke is not like the nicest guy, so I didn't really have a problem with Luke.
I think you need to explain yourself a little bit.
Well, okay, so Luke has always been like because of who was his teacher. we can always assume that Luke was always going to be a by the books kind of guy. He had the two, like Obi-Wan was very by the books when it came to Jedi rules, even though he didn't want to be. I feel like he didn't want to be, but he kind of was. But Yoda was like,
Are you talking about his what we can sort of conjecture about him post Return of the Jedi, or like in those films you see that connection?
I mean, more of like putting young Obi-Wan onto old Obi-Wan because we don't know enough about him as an old man.
We're talking about Luke though.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm talking about Luke. Yeah, I'm talking about like what we can gather from what he did, like the way that he's going in the movies, and what we can infer that he would be like afterwards, kind of thing. Like I'm not like saying like this is exactly what he was like in the movies. Um, I don't know.
That
I
he
don't.
would be a jerk, or that he would be by the book.
I think I think being very by the book in the Jedi terms is also kind of being a jerk in a way. When it comes to telling people that they're not allowed to have attachments with other people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, it's less of being a jerk, but more of like him being very like, this is the Jedi way. This is the Jedi way. You have to do this. Like I think that's very reasonable. To think that he would be like that. Um, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really have a huge issue. I already don't like Luke. The fact that we have to, you know, see Luke this much after we've spent an entire movie trilogy with him. Um, you know, but I don't know.
I'm just trying to get like sort of understand your opinion here, because like, do you still connect with Luke of the original trilogy and like him and like the journey he goes on?
I mean, I like the story. Luke was never my favorite character in the OT anyway. But I think, yeah, I don't know. I think if you're looking at where he ends up and where he was, like where he is in like The Last Jedi versus Return of the Jedi, it makes sense that this would kind of be on the arc of somewhere that he might be. I don't really have a whole lot of opinions on Luke. It's more like Ahsoka. I was kind of upset. I was kind of upset at what they did to Ahsoka. Um, when it comes to the whole Cad Bane thing at the end, I'm not gonna lie, kind of dig it because I've always liked Cad Bane a lot. Um, and it's also not a far stretch to say that he's working with the Pikes. So, you know, I mean, if they're willing to pay him, I don't think it's a far stretch. And I'm cool with seeing Cad Bane in live action. So I think that's pretty sweet. So that's
I
that.
mean, his appearance is the most natural
Yeah.
cameo to be in the show.
Oh yeah.
Um, the thing is, though, I highly doubt that they're going to touch on the fact that he has been in contact with young Boba Fett before. I
Yeah.
like,
Okay, but in you say that, but also in Legends and in an unaired episode, we find out that that's how Boba Fett got his big old dent in his helmet was from a standoff with Cad Bane. So
Cad
like,
Bane was never Legends.
or it's not let, but it was an unreleased episode of Clone Wars. I saw the footage from it at some point, and I resaw it recently.
I think I know what you're talking about.
There's
Yeah,
like
I
there was like an
remember
unreleased
hearing a theory
episode.
that that was going to be explored in this show or something like that.
It was going to be in season 7, I think, or season 6, or something around there, and it was after Boba Fett re I can't remember if he repurposed his. Does he repurpose Jango Fett's armor, or does he like make his own?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
what I remember seeing. There was like an animatic of him in Fett's and Django's armor.
yes, but it was after he repurposed it, painted it green, and he and um Cad Bane are having this standoff or whatever, and Cad Bane shoots him in the head, and that's how he got the dent in his helmet. So like, there's plus you know all the stuff that whole thing with one of the huts whenever they whatever like break one of the huts out of prison, that's Cad Bane and young Boba. So I mean, he's definitely worked with them before. They're probably not going to do a whole lot with it. So who knows? But I like Cad
It's
Bane, so I'm cool to see him in the show.
um, we're kind of all over the place, but hey, that's what the show is right now
That's what the
too.
show is.
Um,
The
so
only other
I texted you earlier today,
oh, and I
and
fully agree with it.
I said I'm spiraling into my frustration about Star Wars right now, and it's stupid because it's not even about the character and the title of the show. They've literally
Yeah,
gotten to the point where they can't even focus on the bad premise that they started with.
yeah. I've also heard that. I've also seen that on Twitter from other people saying like the same thing.
Yeah. This is such a weird journey for me to be on because like I was already cynical and like I was just like this is not needed. I'm not interested in this.
Mm-hmm.
Please do new and fresh things. And then the past 2 weeks, even though I was a little easy on them last week, I'm like, hey, please go back to the bland stuff because at least you're delivering on what you were promising.
Yeah, yeah.
You have no idea. Like this is setting a dangerous precedent because from now on, we cannot trust them whatsoever that any of the shows they're making are actually the shows they're making.
Yeah.
This is like setting them up to just like slap a logo on us and give us a trailer a month out, give the Vegas commercials ever,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we're watching regardless because we just do anyway. We let the Disney Plus stay on auto pay because we just feel like we need to go into this stuff regardless, and they can just switch gears however they want. In fact, they could probably just produce episodes of just anything and switch midway through what show they want that episode to be on. Who that might even be the story here. You never know. This is making it so bland and just um it's just making it depressing to want to be in this because I'm already just tired of how constant this is. Um I'm dreading the next year um of podcasting because I know I'm just gonna like as of now, we're planning on doing these shows
Yeah.
and reacting to them weekly. Um and I just don't like that at this point something that was there was an anticipation for and there was a communal experience when you saw the stuff in theaters and like it was singular that's it's just all consumption. It was consumption then, but it just felt different then. Um, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm also in a communication studies course right now, and I am
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm also thinking about just media in general. So
The problem for me
that's
is
my
that,
general piece about
dude,
just
I want to like this so
uh,
bad. You guys how badly I want to like this? Like, I'm seeing some of my favorite characters on screen again. Boba Fett, Cad Bane, Ahsoka. I'm seeing all like Grogu. I'm seeing my favorite characters on screen again, and it's like not doing it for me. I'm just like, what? Like how? Like honestly, my least favorite thing about this episode is the fact that they put Mando on the same planet as Grogu, and we don't get an interaction between them. That's my least favorite part about this episode. You literally put him 100 feet away from Grogu, and we don't get to see him hold Grogu once. Like what? But I don't know. That's like out of all the things that this episode does poorly, with Ahsoka or with Luke, I don't know. It's just like it's almost like they don't care about the long relationship and the journey that Mando and Grogu went on. And it's like Ahsoka doesn't care about it and that Luke doesn't care about it because they'd rather be with the Jedi ways. And it ticks me off. And then I guess luckily we get Cad Bane at the very end because at least he is like cool and we get a cool scene because I think the standoff is pretty awesome. Um, but it is what it is. Do you know what I think this show is? Christian, you said what it's turning into. You know what I think it is? I think that if Cobb Vanth is dead, I think that they're basically looking at Star Wars and going, we need a reason to not do Rangers of the New Republic. we we need a reason other than Gina Carano to not do Rangers of the New Republic. Kill the main character of that upcoming show.
Maybe I don't think he's dead though. As soon
Either
as you
that
get an
or this
extra,
is what Rangers of the New like because either that or before they started filming this, they knew they weren't going to do Rangers of the New Republic, and so they're making this that instead. Because that's kind of what it
I'll
feels like.
entertain that.
That
Maybe
kind of
I
what it that's
not I don't think they're inserting scenes, but I think
no, but I think that
they're
they're
shuffling
putting
stuff.
Cobb Vanth in this much because he's not getting his own TV show.
He only had like 3 seasons though.
I know, but we can guess he's probably going to be in it more.
Yeah. Okay, but first off, to touch on his survival, you pay an extra to say we need a med pack. That character is surviving.
Oh yeah,
As for his the scenes that he's going to have he's gonna be healed. He's gonna be like, what's happening? And then he's gonna be at the hologram table or whatever in
and he's
the
going to
palace.
shoot a
He's gonna
bunch
be
of
like,
times.
yeah, he's gonna be like, hey, what's the plan? Nah, hold on a second. This isn't gonna work. And then he's gonna have some action scenes.
Yeah.
In the finale.
Yeah.
Um,
but they have to give him something because they took away his TV show. And listen,
okay,
I'm
imagine
also
you're just
but
getting into Star Wars and you're watching the show. You have no idea who the Pikes are, and you have no idea. You really just have no idea what is this battle for? Why do
there's
we
also
care that we win?
there's
this
also
war?
parts of like Luke and Grogu's interaction that you would be so confused because there's so many things where he's like quoting Yoda and it's almost like he waits to be like, get it, that was a reference. It's like when he did the doer, like when he said don't try, do, and then he just waited for a second as if to be like, get it, that was said in the other movie. And then everyone, if you don't know that, they're just like, why are you being quiet? Like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, let's talk about Luke. So I looked it up. They did hire a YouTuber named Shamook to do the deepfake.
Interesting.
He did his fix of the season finale Luke in like 4 days.
Yeah, and it looked great.
Yeah.
Luke in this episode looked awesome, by the way. I will say that's one thing that this episode did well. Luke looked good.
Yeah, so like ILM hired him, which is like I don't have an in-depth thing. Briefly, I'll just say cool that young creators are getting sort of funneled in.
Yeah.
But deepfake technology in general as like a thing humans can do now, dangerous.
Boo.
Don't want to think about that.
Boo that.
Bad for humanity and bad for movies.
Yep.
I would okay, yeah, Luke looks good. His eyes don't look as dead. It feels more like
he looks more like Mark Hamill.
Hamill's face.
Yeah.
But it just still doesn't feel like a performance.
No.
And you're already on a battle uphill when you're casting Luke in this weird gray area between wise mentor figure / like obstacle for the emotional journey of our two beloved characters / legacy cameo.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't. It's the first time Luke, and like how he actually functions, he's like not the protagonist, and he's not the wise mentor.
Yeah.
Or troubled mentor that he was in Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So like we're not like Rey is directly pushing against Luke.
Mm-hmm.
And is like trying to get like pleading to help him, and like we feel like the audience are participating and trying to get Luke to understand what he means.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, you have a mute Grogu, and we can only be Grogu only works as a protagonist to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he's hunting a frog, we're like, go get that frog, right?
Yeah, like when he was doing that little force thing with the frog, I thought that was funny. That's good.
But he is in Grogu is not portrayed by a child actor who could be like, I don't want to do training. Like, that's not something you can do. So ultimately, we're left in. I personally am just left in this discomfort where I'm just like, some of what Luke's saying is like all right. Most of it is very manipulative, but I don't think
Hmm.
the show knows it's manipulative.
Yeah. There's one thing that I saw. I saw an article, and it's. I don't know if it stated it this way, but I think it's one way that they could save Luke's character to make me not just despise him with a burning passion. Because we're
Well,
going.
can you first talk about why you despise him, and then
No, I said I don't right now, but I think we're if he keeps being this manipulative to Grogu, I will start hating him. We're going down a slippery slope, but I think there's one thing that could be good, and it's a theory that some people are having that is that Grogu will probably choose the chainmail because he doesn't.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean Grogu's going to choose the chainmail. We all know it. There's no way he chooses the lightsaber.
like
It's,
he's doing it in the finale of a Boba Fett show.
yeah, that's
Come on
dumb.
now.
That's dumb. Now, if he was,
Oh yeah, we do need to clarify. This is something that if it was in the beginning of season 3 of Mandalorian, we'd still be railing against.
yeah, but not. I feel like there's still it would be better. Still, it'd still be better than if it was happening in a Boba Fett show.
It would be less confusing, but I think we'd still be like, this is a bad episode.
Yes, there's a theory that Luke will, even if he chooses the chainmail, Luke will still choose to train him, which would be a step up from what he's doing now, I guess. But it would also be
What does that even mean?
like because that would mean
Luke
that
was just
Grogu's
gonna.
choosing attachment, and he's still gonna let him train to be a Jedi, and probably still get to see Mando. But also that would be taking him away from Mando, so I guess not.
If he
I
chooses
just
the
thought about
chainmail,
that.
he goes to Mando.
Yeah, I just thought about that. I guess that doesn't really change
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Well,
It's I just
sometimes I wish
it would.
Grogu didn't age so slowly. Like I love seeing him as a little child, but I want him to be able to speak sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember in season 1 of Mandalorian where I was like, I was reading into Baby Yoda as like this in this meta way of like he is like the child we're taking care of.
Hmm.
It just emanates this pure Star Wars energy. Like you
Yeah,
could just in terms of like taking care of this like precious thing. Um, that's like the stories of the Skywalker saga or just everything. Um, I realize now that there's a new layer to that, and as they're talking in the episode about how um one person's lifetime is a brief period for him,
hmm,
I was just like, wait a minute, Baby Yoda in the world of this story is going to be able to go on forever. They
yeah,
basically started the ground zero to where they can technically tell so many stories where he just sort of weaves in and out. And
yeah,
I was just like, in the metaphor, in the meta lens, it's just like a depressing look at the future where Star Wars is just gonna continue to go on. It doesn't even have to be like Baby Yoda specifically, but
hmm,
him like representing Star Wars. We're in for it, folks.
yep.
Or we're not. We can just choose to let go, um, which I've been thinking about for 2 years, haven't done. But
Also, Ahsoka feels like a trailer in this episode. It feels like a
I
trailer
don't
for
know.
her
I
show.
disagree because I don't feel like they're teeing up a journey for her yet.
Well, they're not, but it's like, hey, remember this character that you really liked? Just wait, coming soon. But I mean, I don't know. It's it's a
It's very awkward. It's
it is.
yeah, like you said, and also okay, part of me wants to just like I don't like rewatching things, especially because like sometimes like the first season of like Rebels and Clone Wars are like kind of clunky. That being said, I kind of want to convert this podcast to entirely animated Star Wars. Do like a monthly rewatch of Star Wars Visions. Watch all the Galaxy of Adventure shorts. Get you to watch Resistance. Um, like that's just all. I think that's the most. If you were to do like pound for pound animated stuff versus Mandoverse,
Mm,
animated stuff wins.
yeah.
And and I do want to rewatch Rebels so I can have a better understanding of that part of Ahsoka's journey
Yeah.
because it's been a while. But anyway, from what I remember, her journey is um, sort of it's hard to explain. A lot of it feels like sort of a convenient sort of selfishness on Filoni's part, but I feel that too. So it's like she's the one that got away, and she has to face Anakin for who he really is and get that closure, and dies, and then Filoni selfishly reinserts her again.
Yeah.
Um, but in that way, she transcends the teachings of the Jedi and even the idea of a mentor character, because all of the mentors of Luke and um and then Luke in turn for a bit. Well, he didn't manipulate Rey, but he like kind of let her down. But all the mentors of Luke, Obi-Wan, and Yoda lied, and just sort of set them up for failure. Qui-Gon set everyone up for failure.
By
Um,
training Anakin, yeah.
yeah, I love Qui-Gon, but he's kind of responsible. Um,
He
so
is, but
like,
I also don't want to blame him because there's no way he could have known that. There's no way.
yeah, and so like, from what I understand, in the most basic terms, Ahsoka transcends the teachings of the Jedi,
Mm,
and I know from behind the scenes stuff that Filoni kind of viewed her as like Gandalf the White, Ahsoka the White, and that she sort of has this new form. Um, I don't know if he wanted to make her immortal or not, but um, she's always been um, arguably just as good example as Luke as proving how a person can balance their attachments and their duties. Um, and I guess she's like an inverse of Luke, where like Luke is he comes to the Jedi late, whereas Ahsoka grew up in that environment and still came out of it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, how does that? If you're hearing this for the first time and you've only seen Ahsoka and The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, does that seem like her character at all?
No.
No. She
No.
is preaching about the attachments for no reason. I don't understand why she's just sort of reverted back to that. Also,
Yeah.
she's and it's just so tough because she's presented as like this side character, um, who is informing Mando about the Jedi. So like, we want her to be. You want her to either be the reliable person that's like, I'm representing this well, or as like an antagonist who's like, I'm steering you the wrong way, slash, I'm gonna fight you. But instead, it's like she's just not operating in the mold that Filoni even set for her at the end of Rebels.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like intentional because it's not nothing's from her perspective. So it's we don't the something off sort of feeling doesn't feel like we're feeling that with her. Um, it feels like it's just like an unaddressed thing.
Yeah. It was also very when we got to the end of the episode, I was like, this was a Filoni episode. And then it said directed by Dave Filoni, and I was like, there it is. There's that feel that Dave Filoni has. Not always a good one. In Mando season 1, it was a good one, but
Yeah,
you know,
I heard a few weeks back that he was directing one of these episodes, and immediately people were like, "Oh, uh, Ahsoka's gonna be there at least."
yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
I was still, they're not gonna put Luke in Book of Boba Fett. They're not gonna do that.
There's no way they wouldn't dare.
and that wasn't even spoken as far as I saw. But then people were saying
Dude,
Filoni, Ahsoka, that's gonna
I
happen.
saw
And
people
still, I was like, that makes no sense. Why would they do that?
for this show. No, it doesn't make any sense. I also saw people like a week ago were like, "Oh, Cad Bane's going to be in this show." And I'm like, "What even gives you the thing to think that?" Like the fact that maybe Boba Fett will hire him, but like,
I think
does he work with the
that makes
Pikes?
sense though.
I know, but does he work with the Pikes in the Clone Wars?
No, but it's I mean, you know,
Yeah.
we
All
we
right.
expected cameos.
Yeah.
We didn't want them, but we were saying, hey, Cobb Vanth and Cad Bane are probably likely.
Yeah. Well,
But back to Filoni. What a weird journey he's had.
yeah.
Just like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, people were saying he's like the next George Lucas.
People are still saying that.
Okay,
We're not with them now.
people might say that, but like you cannot deny that the media of Star Wars, like the form that it takes, is like you can't even pretend it's anywhere close to the same experience or process.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there's a lot
There
of
was
people.
the last shred we had that it was like oh, this is a similar sort of form this takes is when they were doing movies in theaters and waiting 2 years between releases. Even that though is
Yeah. Well, and
totally different.
I mean, I told you this before, but there are people who are saying like, oh, well, this is the greatest piece of Star Wars media since Rise of Skywalker. And I'm like, that's false. That is very, very false on a lot of levels. And they're talking about this episode specifically. I'm like, no, sorry.
I don't know. I will reevaluate my opinion in 10 years when
In 10
when I get it
years.
when I get a sense for the kind of people, or not even get a sense, like get to know someone who just didn't have the same experience as I did with these movies, and
Mhm.
sort of maybe had Rise of Skywalker or these Mando shows sort of all at once and did not go through the experience of hype or let down.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, that's a huge factor in how the waves of opinion sort of work with Star Wars. Happened with the prequels, with Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Will eventually happen with the sequels. Um, so like, I get that our opinion is very much predicated on having a background in the first 6 films and Clone
Yeah.
Wars, living through in total vibrance the first 2 sequels, Rogue One and Solo. But by the time Solo and Rise of Skywalker come out, that's when we sort of fade out, you know. Not hitting on Solo, but that's just sort of the timeline of it.
Yeah.
So like that's just like that. It's unavoidable. That's our perspective. We're gonna get stubborn, especially if we keep regurgitating the same opinions every week. But you know, it's undeniable. Last Jedi. It's undeniable that Last Jedi sort of informed what we think the direction should be, and no matter what our reasons are, you can't fault a kid, or not even a kid, just someone who like doesn't feel like analyzing as much as we do, for having a different experience.
Yeah.
So tune in next time, 10 years from now, when we reevaluate Dross.
Yeah. Well, I think that I mean we've already been going for a pretty long time on this episode. I think
Not even talking about much of the episodes.
no, I mean we're already 50 minutes in though. So we
We've
before
not even touched on like Easter eggs or anything like that.
no, but there's one thing that I want to talk about is that I want to talk about the good scene in this movie. And I think as soon as we go back to Mos Pelgo, after Mando gets off of Luke's planet, I think up until we go back to Luke's planet is a good scene. Is like a good solid 15 minutes. I think it's 15 minutes. Or it's like 10 or 15 minutes.
I love Cobb Vanth's boyfriend being like, Mando, get out of town.
Yeah, yeah.
You are not allowed here.
You are not allowed.
That was so funny. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think it like Cobb Vanth came close to carrying the episode.
Yeah.
But it's at the same time, it's like we're watching a show. Like this is the sixth chapter. Out of context, it works.
Yeah.
But this is the sixth chapter in a show about Boba Fett learning from his trauma and correcting his
Again,
course,
and
going on a not a journey, but like a mission to right the wrongs of Tatooine and pay his employees really well. That's the story, but
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And
this has nothing to do with what we've been seeing.
and that's exactly why my whole like thing right now is that I want to like this episode so bad because I'm almost feeling the same thing as I felt last week. Except for last week, I was like, this would be a great episode of The Mandalorian. Last week, I was like, this episode should not be in the Book of Boba Fett,
And
but
it
it's
likely was.
and yeah, like it was, but it would also be a great season opener for Mandalorian season 3. This episode would also be a good. I wouldn't say it'd be a great episode, but it'd be better than the worst episode of The Mandalorian. I think it would be better than the worst. It would work more as a Mandalorian episode than it does a Boba Fett episode. That's what I'm trying to say. And so because of that,
But okay, but the fact that it exists questions it makes the definition of what a Book of Boba Fett episode is come into question.
oh yeah,
Like if this is
yeah,
what it is, then what is it? It's just
yeah,
it's entirely rewriting what a show is at this point.
yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, that's why I want to, and also, it's honestly my biggest issue with the whole episode is just well, I say my biggest issue with the whole episode when we spend most of the episode there, but is all the stuff with Luke and Grogu and Ahsoka. Like, but like as soon as we go back to Mos Pelgo, until we go back to Luke's having Grogu make this awful decision, which is stupid anyway, I think that like that whole section is good. I mean like the we get another good conversation between Mando and Cobb Vanth, and you can feel the tension of the fact that the last time Mando was here, he stole his armor, right? And Mando mentions it. He says something about like doing pretty well without the armor or something, and it's like, yeah, and you can feel the tension between them, and that's really good. And then we leave, we get an actually good cameo of a character that we like, one that makes sense anyway, like one that is not doesn't feel forced in, one that makes logical sense in the confines of the episode. I don't know. And I really like the standoff scene.
I was with you because I think it is a fun action scene. But the word cameo puts me off.
Okay, maybe it's not a cameo, but I don't do well with words.
Because I don't know. It's just that's the whole approach. I don't know. But yeah, you talk about sometimes where you have a little bit more trouble enjoying stuff that feels like it's just going in circles talking in an episode, as opposed to the action scenes. Which if you look at most of Star Wars, most of it is action scenes.
Yeah.
I almost texted you earlier. I didn't want to go too in depth. We don't normally text before an episode.
No, because we like to talk about it on the episode, fresh on the mind.
Yeah, but I was gonna say the famous saying from George Lucas was faster, more intense. On the set of A New Hope, it was just like, I don't want to lose money, so just get to the dialogue, please. I want to get everything in here made.
Yeah.
And I want to get the pace and the fun of it all. And that's what it really is. And this episode is slower, less intense.
Yeah.
On the whole. And I think that any of that could work. I think that's probably what the Obi-Wan show is going to be. But if you don't have a grip for the characters from the start, then there's no point in having those slower meditative sort of plot.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I like the standoff scene. It's pretty cool. I like because I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I don't want either of these characters to die. What's gonna happen? Like, you can't just introduce Cad Bane and then have him die, but also why? Like, I don't want Cobb Vanth to die, and so I was really concerned. It's like I don't know how to feel. I will say Cad Bane looks great. As much as I thought, you don't think so?
his eyes
I
are
think
too wide.
that's
He
the only
seems,
two things
I
that
don't know.
the
He
only two
seems
things
very
I can think of.
stiff.
The only two things I can think of is that his face is too wide, and he may be a little bit less blue than he's supposed to be. But like, you
Couldn't
know,
they have just had a human actor portray him, but with like those dots around their eyes and nose and just CGI?
yep.
Like
But they didn't. They
that's how you
that
get that's how you get facial expression.
this is a completely CGI character. There
No,
was
that's a mask.
is it because there's
It's
no one
definitely a
listed on
mask.
IMDb as playing this guy.
Check again because I think you might be credited as the stranger.
Because on IMDb the only one listed is not Colin, Corey Burton, who voiced Cad Bane in the Clone Wars, and it says Cad Bane voice. And that is
That's
the
they do
only.
that. Well, that's sometimes what they do with creature actors versus voice actors, especially if it's carrying continuity from
Mhm.
another show. They're gonna have the animated actor return.
Yeah, but I'm not
But
seeing any. There's no other cast listed for Cad Bane, even as the stranger.
I just remember seeing his face and it looked very stiff and expressionless.
I'll look it up real quick. Banter for a quick second.
Banter is between two people.
Okay. Um. Let's see. Voiced by Corey Burton. Oh, stunt actor Dorian Kingi. Oh, okay. It was for real. That makes me feel better, I guess. I thought they just completely CGI'd him, and I got kind of upset.
Apparently, there's already been a
Yep, there's already
I
been a
don't know.
fix. I just saw it, and it looks great. The new one looks awesome.
It's from okay. What is cinematic captures? They seem familiar.
I don't know, but I saw one on it's a Screen Rant article, and it says Star Wars fan fixes Cad Bane live action design.
Oh, I remember what it is. Cinematic Captures is a Battlefront account that tries to find really good shots within the game.
Yeah,
Um, and they're like, "Hey, I wasn't trying to fix Cad Bane. I was just trying to make him look more like the cartoon." Because yeah, his mouth. I see the mouth now. It's like too high on the face.
his mouth is also not wide enough.
Yeah, I
And
don't know.
oh,
I'm not fully against changing a design from animated to live action. What I'm
mm-hmm.
more concerned with is seeing a character's expression, and I just didn't feel that from Kevin.
Yeah. Well, Cad Bane's also never been a super expression person for the most part. He's kind of just been like, I'm gonna try to intimidate you as
Yes,
much as possible.
yes, but you can't tell me that there isn't a difference between a human actor
No, I
keeping a pretty
understand.
still, straight face and a prosthetic face doing nothing.
Did you watch this cinematic captures video?
Oh, did he do a video? I'm just seeing a screenshot.
No, it's a whole They posted the entire scene from the movie with his face fixed, or from the show, and it looks awesome. This looks awesome. I'll post the link to this in the description of the episode because this looks amazing. He looks just
Oh,
real enough. He looks
someone
just
posted a shot from Rango. That's kind of
he looks just real enough to be in the show, but also just like the Clone Wars version. And
I think
after,
part of it could have been the lighting that made him look less blue.
yeah, Honestly, if he was just a little bit more blue, I think it would fix the issue. I'm not gonna lie.
Inside joke. Well, he'll look better once he's blue.
I forgot about that till just now. Yeah, so I'm gonna post this video in the description of the episode, so go check it out. It's very cool, and it's also really sad that people on the internet can make better special effects than multi-billion-dollar organizations. Do better, Lucasfilm, LucasArts, whatever you are nowadays. Anyway, do you have anything else to say about the episode, Christian, before we wrap it up? I hate to have talk crap about this episode because, I mean, oh, we didn't talk about the fact that they blew up the two good Twilight characters. Probably.
I don't know. Yeah. It's as for character deaths, I'll wait till they have a burial. Literally, no one is ever dead in this universe.
That's true.
But wow, I opened Twitter and YouTube, and now my computer is heaving.
Got a jet engine over there.
Wow, it's actually really hard to think right now. Okay, another thing, the Jawas in this episode were really funny.
Yeah, they have a giant. Was that a crate dragon skull?
Yeah, and that's how that was the first signal that we were going back to most Pogo.
Yeah,
but also when they were reacting to the N1 Starfighter, they're like,
yeah,
really cool.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, like that whole part was pretty good. I liked it.
Also, I ship Pelimoto and Black Chrysanthemum. I think
she likes the fur. She likes some furry.
She doesn't, but she needs a second chance at it. She needs to see it from a different perspective.
Oh God, I don't want to think about that. Stop. I don't want to think about it.
We have to regularly complain every week that Fennec Shan deserved better. It just.
She wasn't even in the. She talked for like a minute.
Exactly.
But she had more lines than Boba Fett in this episode. You know why? Because Boba Fett had 0.
We need We've talked about like the diversion from Boba Fett's story, but yeah, obligatory. We can't record an episode without saying why wasn't Fennec Shan in this more.
Yeah. Even in Mando season 3, we're gonna complain. Fennec Shan should have been in this show.
Yep. They brought back the theme of Cobb Vanth / the Marshal from episode 1 of season 2.
I noticed that.
Cool.
Thanks.
And they also used sometimes after it being a while since like listening to the scores of the episodes, I can't off rip just like sort of hum the tune. Sorry, I used to be able to do that.
It's okay, I can't.
Especially because the Wii Sports Resort bowling theme is in my head right now, so I definitely can't do it.
Me too.
But
I'm serious. I watched I watched a video about it before we recorded.
Shut up, Spencer. I'm trying to talk. They also brought back the season 2 extension of the Mando theme. It's in that part where he's going through that city in episode 1 of season 2, and he's about to go to the boxing match. That's specifically a season 2 thing where it's like I think it represents his evolution or whatever. But yeah, sorry I'm not delivering on the music analysis here, but it's there. There's still music. No offense to Joseph Shirley, it's just not as dope as Ludwig Göransson.
Give us Ludwig Göransson. Yeah, no, I agree. So, yeah, the last part of this episode in Mos Pelgo was pretty awesome. Can't say it for the rest of the episode. I just want to keep saying that so people don't think I hated this entire episode. I feel bad because like I wanted to like it so bad.
We didn't touch on the Battlefront 2 cutscene that they put in this episode.
The Order 66 scene.
Yeah. Okay, that's what makes me hate Luke the most, and it just seems so stupid because it's framed as this like device for the writers to be like, well, people are wondering what actually happened to Baby Yoda, So naturally, Luke is gonna be like, "I'm powerful. You should remember what happened to you, so that they could know. Here, relive your trauma."
Yeah, it's like, hey,
And
do you want to remember your past trauma?
I was like, if he legit forgot it, let him. Let him think of his space dad. Like,
Does
Luke is
Luke
just
even
so
know about Order
weird.
66?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. I get what. Yeah. Well,
Well, I
okay.
don't know if he knows Order 66. He probably finds out eventually.
Yeah.
Um, he's putting this whole era is him trying to piece together the past.
Well, because Luke happened before we knew that Order 66 was, or before Order 66 was even like a actual concept. I mean, they technically never talked about it in the OT because it didn't exist yet. So it's hard to tell whether Obi-Wan or Yoda told him about it, but probably.
And yeah, so to, I know you said that like you think that they can still improve this. Um,
Maybe.
I don't think that they can. This is that they already failed a chance
They
in
just
a
need
very
to let him go.
confusing way because they did it like sooner than I thought they would because they did it in a different show than I thought they would do it in.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we can't enjoy things. I always point out things that I like. That being said, this technology of using AI to map faces of old or dead actors is a bad precedent, as Ian Malcolm said in Jurassic Park. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I forget the quote, but
That's what he
it's a
said.
bad precedent. It's a bad
You
precedent,
were too
and
busy.
they're
You were
gonna
too
do it
busy wondering if you could to ask yourself if you should, or something like that.
exactly. So this is a bad precedent. I don't want to manifest this, but they're gonna do this with Carrie Fisher and with Harrison Ford, and they're gonna try to give whichever fans. I've never met someone personally who believes this, but they're gonna serve the fans who want to see a resurrected trio of legacy characters. Um, and
Yeah.
by then, I will have read all of Saga. Maybe I won't read Dune, but I'll have seen The Matrix more times. I'm gonna finally watch The Lord of the Rings.
You've never seen the Lord of
Um,
the Rings?
nope, I've been too busy wasting my time with this crap. I'm not gonna read or watch Harry Potter.
Not worth
Miss me
it.
with that. Um, let's see. I'm not gonna see Game of Thrones. I don't really care about that. I'm not gonna watch the Amazon Prime Lord of the Rings show.
Don't do that.
That's also depressing. But oh, I'm also I forgot about this. I'm gonna get a college education.
Yeah, you should probably do that.
And
You know, because society, we live in one of those.
and so but hey, in some sense or another, I will still be hanging out with you, Spencer, either making other podcast or a Star Wars podcast, and still being nerdy, just not focusing on this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess thank you for listening to this episode of Last Star Wars Podcast. If you want to find us on any of our social medias, you can find us at Last Star Wars Pod on Instagram and Twitter, or Last Star Wars Podcast on Facebook and the YouTubes, where we post all these lovely episodes. If you want to email us, you can email us at thelaststarwarspod@gmail.com, or it's also in the description of the episode. So go email us. Let us know what you think and what you want to see next on the podcast. We will read all of them. Let me go make sure we don't have any of those lovely emails from any of our followers that I can count on one hand. Nope.
Yeah, and listen to us on Spotify. In between listening to like the 20 songs that Joni Mitchell still has on there. And were you gonna talk about Star Wars podcasting day?
Yeah. So in how many days is this? From, I guess when this comes out, it'll be 3 days. Will be Star Wars Podcast Day on February the 7th. So you should go listen to our episode. We're gonna be talking about Star Wars video games and also just other kinds of video games in general. And I think it's gonna be fun. We also haven't recorded that episode yet. So we're gonna do that while you guys wait for that. While you guys listen to this, we will probably be recording that episode. So come back, listen to that episode. Once again, go in the comments, not the comments, this is not a YouTube video. Go in the description and go to starwarsnowthis.com to find a bunch of other Star Wars podcasts you can listen to. People who may not be as cynical as we are about this show anyway. So thank you again for listening to this episode of the Last Star Wars Podcast, and we'll see you in a couple days for National Star Wars Podcasting Day.